Recently, I put some hours on stream into a game called Aloft. Aloft is an early access survival game that has you gliding around in the abyss, going from island to island, killing corruption to save ecosystems that grant you blueprints to help you expand your own island that you can fly around on. Hey, we got a sail. Bum, 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 bum. And there are llamas. I'm so back. Now that was a lot of words, but not a lot of punctuation to describe this game, so I'm going to go a little more in depth on the game itself and how I felt playing it. Also, I can go more in depth about how I feel about you liking this video and possibly subscribing if you want. It makes me very happy and inflates my ego. Anyways, like I said, Aloft is early access, which sometimes is just a game developer's way of saying, here is an incomplete product that I don't know if I'm going to finish, but I'm going to try to make some money out of it anyways. But I personally don't get that vibe from this game. While the game is far from perfect for reasons I'll get into later, you can tell Aloft has had a lot of care and passion put into it, which I think would make the appropriate time to start off with the good of this game. First thing I'll say is that, man, is this game just nice to look at.
Wow, this game's actually really pretty.
Right? Yeah, this is where I stopped.
Oh my God.
Right off the tutorial, when you leave the cave for the first time, it's beautiful, man. The colors, the sky, the nature, all just some eye candy for my pre-diabetic body to end over. I sometimes catch myself just flying around one of the gliders, admiring the sky and beauty of it all, which brings me to my next point, the glider. The glider is an item you get almost immediately, and though I found it to be slightly hard to control initially, I found it very easy to pick up. This thing is fun. You can just glide all around, boosting through the sky, and you can initiate the glider by just simply jumping. So you really can just glide almost anytime, anywhere. When games have systems like this, especially during early access, I often get concerned with it being a buggy mess, but it's actually not, and overall, I'd say this game is surprisingly unbuggy. Of course, they do exist. Like, for example, my one friend had his home island spawn twice, which was kind of weird, but overall, it was a surprisingly smooth experience. Now that we are talking about home islands, let's get into that. From the very beginning, you are directed to claim an island as your own and make it your own flying base by slapping sails, a steering wheel, and you can even build a full house on that bad boy. I decided to make myself a tower on top of my house and quickly realized the architectural mistake I made. Guys, we have a problem. I'm building a tower and I realize it just looks like a giant penis. To build some things much like any other survival game, you must craft them. But I must say Aloft has some unique elements in their crafting that make the game just that much more enjoyable. For example, to find recipes, you can either discover them on certain landmarks on islands, use a sketchbook to quote-unquote sketch an item into your recipes that you see around. Like if I see a lamp I can look at it and sketch it and boom, now it's in my recipes. Or you can combine materials together in hopes this learn button pops up to which you can learn that recipe, which I thought was fun, just trying to make random combinations of materials to see what they end up making. I've mentioned many things that just makes Aloft thrive in terms of quality of life features. Features that just make the core gameplay flow nicely, and that's what we need to get to next. Core gameplay. And my goodness, is the core gameplay of this game just plainly boring. I don't know if my friends and I were just playing the game wrong or what, but after building an island to float around in, within the first 2 hours, I was incredibly bored. The game advertises itself as a survival game, but there is no food or water bar, so as long as you aren't in combat or refusing to use your glider to save yourself from falling to your death, you aren't challenged in any way in terms of survival. And also because there's no food needed, there is no farming aspect or self-sustaining aspect to your base, meaning besides looks, which is important, and some basic construction pieces to get your island to fly, at least in the 5 to 6 hours I played, there wasn't really any point in building up your island. The one game mechanic that switches the game up that gives the experience a little bit of a spark is saving islands from corruption. The islands have many materials to collect, but if the island is corrupted, you have to fight off its enemies and destroy the corruption plants completely before any materials are to be taken. Completely is the very key word, because there was multiple times I just ran around an island that was 90+% fixed, but couldn't find one small corruption plant that was holding everything back, even after planting trees to try to boost the environment, and I just gave up. Now doing this wouldn't be all so bad if the combat wasn't so extremely bland. You hop on the island, kill some mushroom dudes with basic combat, find the corruption plant, break the pods, break the middle, while occasionally fighting some mushroom mobs in between. Now sometimes the corruption plant will have tentacles that swing around, making it a little more difficult. And while the first couple of islands it was fine, after an hour or so it just kind of became, is that it? Assuming you do clear an island, you can learn new major recipes from totems around the island, which I do think is cool. What is less cool is what happened twice in the first 3 hours of my friends and I playing, where one person ended up missing a single important recipe, resulting in someone trying to go back to each island to see which one held the recipe that they missed. I'm sure there is a way for one person to learn a recipe without someone going all the way back, right? I hope so, but I didn't figure it out, which doesn't mean it's not there, but I still think is annoying that it's something we had to do and waste a lot of time.
You're a big fun girl. You're such a global mama. Just having fun.
I did come back a couple weeks later to this game by myself to see if there was more to the game and tried to go to a new area to see if I just missed something completely. I spent about 10 minutes on my ship traveling to the next section, and guess what? At least this next one, it was pretty much exactly the same. So you must think I hate this game. No, actually I don't. I think there is a lot of features and groundwork in Aloft that actually would make a great game if built upon. And reminder that Aloft is still in early access and seems to be pushing updates that improve the game each and every time. Aloft as it currently stands in February of 2025 is a relaxing but boring, empty game. I could easily see with some time passing coming back to this game and being blown away with the gameplay. I would not recommend spending the full price of Aloft, but I would recommend keeping an eye on it and its new updates. Maybe a year from now they'll cook up something great and I'll sink dozens of hours into it, but that's not there yet. Anyways, I hope you all liked the video, and if you did, leaving a like would help a lot, and also maybe subscribing if you want to see more. Let me know your thoughts on Aloft in the comments because I do read them all. Anyways, hope to see you all in the next video. Toodles.